I am Ethan Smith. I'm the owner of SmithFly. I have a degree in industrial design and visual communications from Ohio State. That gave me a good foundation of how to kind of iterate and develop ideas from kind of the start and sort of the imagined world into the real world. So that's what we do here is help think of cool things and then just make them. And the recession really changed a lot too. So 2007, 2008, the firm I was working for went from 200 people to like 75. And so we were having massive rounds of layoffs. And I'd come home on a Friday and they'd lay off 20 or 30 people. And my wife would be like, well, when are you going to get cut? There was a big part of just the security of, hey, if I get laid off, if I start a business over here, and then I lose my job, I can at least collect unemployment and work on the business for a few months. And maybe it'll be going well enough that by the time, this unemployment runs out, I can just do this business thing, right? And so it was a full probably 2 or 3 years that I was sort of working on both before I really stepped out on my own. Part of it was a frustration working with a lot of really big businesses that are really clumsy and terrible at innovation and terrible at taking risks, and seeing the amount of ineptness that goes into these multi-billion-dollar brands, and how many fantastic ideas the designers would come up with on a daily basis that we'd present to these giant customers, and then they'd just be like, yeah, that's dumb, we're not doing that. And so you have enough of those moments in your life that you're like, man, someday you gotta just put your stake in the ground and do what you're gonna do. And so it was the recession that really put the fine point on, hey, I gotta do this now. Being an entrepreneur, it's kind of cliche, but it's never what people expect, and there's no straight path. And a friend of mine has a saying that it's like climbing a mountain where you're cutting your own handholds and they disappear after you use them, so that nobody can ever follow your same path, right? And I think that's sort of an inspiring way to, or at least a very realistic way to talk about how it is that you get to where you're at, which is never, like I said, a straight line or easy at all. In my case, I just developed some products for fly fishing and started iterating on solving problems for fly fishermen that I saw when I was a user out on the water. So conceptualizing things that you think might be useful for people, and then helping to bring those to light in a new way. Design is always about compromises between engineering and execution and materials, and sort of this happy medium between what you conceptualize and then what you actually create. So to me, being a design professional helped me, to solve problems and think about business less about a numbers game and more about actually making products that make a difference in the world. One of the old sayings that one of my professors had was that a designer with clients can be a good designer, but a designer with a passion for one specific thing can change the world, right? I grew up in Troy. I was born and raised here, spent 10 years living in Columbus, and then moved home. So the Troy, Tip, kind of Miami County area is home for us. I probably couldn't have done what we do anywhere else because we had that support network here. And growing up in Troy and having that just a really positive environment where people are interested in what we're doing and care a little bit more than, say, if I was in a place like Boulder or Austin that might have a more robust kind of startup community and all of that stuff, but I don't have the network of friends and family and supporters around in those places that care about what we're doing. It's a totally different type of stress. I worked in pretty high stress environments and pretty big businesses, working for lots of Fortune 500 companies and doing some pretty important design work, rebranding of some major clients in the hospitality space and the retail space. That was very high stress, but owning your own business is a completely different type of stress that I didn't really conceptualize until I'm in that position, 5 years later. And so to me, that's super important. To know that that's there. The mayor of Troy was, my mom's principal when she was a teacher for 43 years in Troy. And having that level of interconnectedness and the fabric of that community sort of woven around the whole business has been pretty important. I did a lot of pitches to various groups, and Early Risers was a really good one. It was very public. It was, and it was a good stage to put that out there on. And so I think really helping to refine that and put the fine point on exactly what it is we're trying to do here was super beneficial. Like, it's not just me throwing spaghetti at the wall and trying to see what sticks. It was, no, this is how we're making a difference in the world, and this is what we're trying to do, and this is why it makes sense. Everybody's pretty flexible here, which is pretty good. You have to wear a lot of hats and be pretty flexible, and that's part of having a small business in general. It's always just incremental little steps, moving towards the greater goal. So Yeah, and there's no magic secret sauce, no matter what people tell you. It's always just a battle from one day to the next to sort of just being flexible and nimble and able to just kind of make the best with the hand you're dealt. So, my name is Ethan Smith, and I am an entrepreneur.